So good news for the shareholders, 9.5% increase in the dividend. Frank, I'm just wondering, we're spending a great deal of time talking about trade wars, the risk to the global economy, coming from the White House. When you read the news flow, you're in the business of moving goods and products around the world. How concerned are you when you hear the prospect of a European response to the United States? Good morning.
Good morning. So, first of all, the economy is currently in the best stage since many years, and that's very good. Protectionism doesn't help anybody. It's a lose-lose for everybody. The current stage is too early to say what will happen and how big the impact will be. But, consumer confidence will definitely not go up if I read the headlines, and that's not good. As I said, protectionism doesn't help. There's not a single country on this planet who ever benefited from protectionism. There's a long list of countries who benefited from open markets, very much so. And I hope that, we will see a rational development of that kind of discussion.
You are planning a 9.5% dividend increase, Mr. Appel. What is it in your numbers that's driven that?
So we have, a finance policy strategy and plan for a long time. What we say, from the underlying net profit, we give our shareholders a 40 to 60% a dividend every year. We are slightly above the midpoint of 50 with 52%. We have had a very strong year on our journey to 2020, where we are predicting that we will deliver more than 5 billion EBIT, and to let our shareholders participate, that's the reason why we increased the dividend again.
So that's confidence coming through, Frank. Look, obviously, you've been in the news recently in regards to taking on this new relationship with KFC. I think at the time you described it as groundbreaking and committed to setting new industry benchmarks in service. And that's obviously not really what happened with KFC. If I can ask you what you learned from that experience, what have you put right? What have you done in the immediate aftermath? I know there's been the apology, but I want to know from a business point of view, Frank, reputational damage and what you've done to right it.
So first of all, of course, we regret what happened. It's always not good if customer suffers from not performing as expected. Currently, we are helping together and working together with KFC to get everything back on track, and we are optimistic that this is happening and gets every day better. Of course, you always take learnings. I think the public is not the right point to talk about that in detail. We, of course, investigate that, but if you operate a global operation in 220 countries with more than 60 billion revenue, unfortunately, mistakes happen once in a while. And that's, again, first, we have to regret what we have done and help now KFC to get better on track.
Have you noticed any parallels between this issue and also the failed software project that you had some 3 years ago? Anything you can learn from both those problems?
No, these things are completely disconnected and have different root causes. But as I said, if you run a company with 520,000 employees, mistakes happen, unfortunately. You have to trust the organization that they make it right. What is important is that as a senior team, we respond rapidly, as we did in both cases. And that's, I think, what you should do as a management. You have to trust the organization that they make it right in the first place. But unfortunately, as long as we work with human beings, and hopefully we work a long time with human beings, there will be mistakes. And then you have to admit that you made something wrong and fix it. And this is what we are doing at the current stage.
Frank, let's take the business forward. I think we understand that you're doing everything possible to right that recent issue. If we talk about your prediction beyond 2020, it looks like you're sticking to your EBIT target for that year based on the earlier 8% average growth. So take us beyond that. Can you give us any vision beyond that? Where's the growth going to come from in terms of the guidance? Is that what you're sticking to?
Yeah, so, despite that we are not ready yet to talk about 2020, we had the guts already in 2014 to give long-term guidance. We will come with a long-term guidance again if things are progressing well. But what I can say, two facts will definitely impact our business in a very positive way, which is e-commerce and digitalization. E-commerce, because we are still at the starting point, what it means for all industries. And digitalization, because that will give us tremendous opportunity to improve our productivity. And productivity gains are good for customers, employees, and shareholders. So we see definitely a bright future beyond 2020, but it's too early to commit any numbers.
Let's talk about street scooter. Is your expansion of that production going to result in you having to take any extra provisions?
So we are very happy with that idea. You know, we are surprised by the response from the market. So it's really doing very well. And we are very optimistic that we see more sales this year. And that is a great example what technology can bring to companies. And I think that's the exciting part going forward.
Frank, what's your biggest order been on street scooters so far? And just give us a sense of the growth there.
So we have, now 5,500 cars on the street. We can expand production pretty rapidly further. Now it's really to show that we really can sell these products, and we have increasing demand. But we are in the B2B world. In the B2B world, it takes always some time. But we are optimistic that we see strong growth this year in external sales as well. But we are not, guiding yet or know how many we will really deliver this year to external parties.
Mr. Appel, Bridgewater Associates, the fund led by Ray Dalio, has been shorting a number of European companies. It's increased in its shorts in Deutsche Post. Do you have any response to that? Are you concerned it could be anything to do with the business itself?
So, I think what is important for management is that you stay really on course with your strategy, whatever happens. You have now potential changes in tariffs. There might be investors who think it goes in the wrong direction. Our experience since 2008 is a long-term plan is really helping and is leading to the right solution. So we are focusing on making our business right, having a long-term strategy. Shareholders have a right to make their decisions. And they took the decision that it might be, that the markets go in the other direction. We will see. I believe, and that's our job as a management, we have to do what's right for the company.
Frank, I just want to finish with this, a sort of a more general question on wages and staff. Mario Draghi, the head of the European Central Bank, is constantly searching for signs of inflation, wage inflation returning. We've just had the IG Metall settlement in Germany. What's the consequence for your business? Are you giving pay rises? Are you seeing pay and a squeeze in labour around Europe?
So, we are in negotiation with our unions, and we gave a very attractive offer to our employees. And I think that, you have always to do the following. You have to let customers participate, employees and shareholders, and I think that balance we have to keep. And that is happening at the moment. That's a normal thing. If that really leads to inflation, we will see. So I'm more optimistic that we will stay with inflation on a reasonable level.